Welcome back to The Sensitive Warrior, the podcast for those of us who feel deeply, think endlessly, and honestly just need a nap after a single social event. I'm your host, Doreen Lang, and I'm also author of Embracing Venus, Achieve a Life Lit Up for Highly Sensitive People. And I'm also a Reiki master and coach where I help people gain clarity about being a highly sensitive person in my studio in Norwell, Massachusetts, and virtually. I can be reached at Doreen at your HSP coach. Today, we're going to be having a really great time. This is a topic that I was hoping to do when I first started doing podcasts. And Stacy Peliquin is here. Welcome.
Thank you.
And sometimes we laugh so hard over these subjects that I thought, wouldn't this make such a fun show? And she said, I think it would make such a fun show. And that was it. Marriage was made. So I'm so excited that she's here to do this with me today. We're going to talk about being a highly sensitive person clearly is a challenge. You know, the lights are too bright, noises are too loud, and people might think, I've actually had someone say to me the other day, are you on the spectrum? You know, so we think about how we are so sensitive, but it's how we react and how we live our lives that really make or break our life. So we're going to talk about a couple of things here. First off, small talk. Now, small talk is, what is small talk? We all know what small talk is. When people say, hi, what do you think of the weather today? Do you know if it's going to rain? For highly sensitive people, this is absolutely painful. It's similar to taking your fingernail and just scraping it. Would you say down a chalkboard, small talk?
I would say that, absolutely.
Why waste energy talking about nothing when we could be discussing something meaningful? That is how a highly sensitive person reacts. We cannot stand small talk. So when you think about small talk, what is it for you?
Small talk. So it's interesting because I don't engage in it as much. I just don't have to. I avoid it.
Yeah.
But sometimes even just being a witness to it affects me.
If you're in the room listening,
you know, we've talked
overhearing
about news reporters and the banter, the
Yes.
nonsense banter back and forth. It's like, why would you even have a conversation like that? Or what? Well, I mean, they're doing it to fill up time, but to me, time's precious and meaning is precious. So, you know, small talk, sometimes you're trapped in it.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time with it. I know that there's things that I do to signal people that I want to get out, but if they're not attuned like we are, they don't understand that.
No, it's really painful. I was looking at a house a couple weeks ago. We're looking to buy a home, and the realtor looked familiar to my husband, and I thought, oh no. So we went through, and I said, no, let's not talk, so we could just go real quick and get through this, you know, because I want to see something else, and I'm hungry. I want to get out of here. I said that purposely,
Right.
so he wouldn't, because he doesn't mind small talk.
Okay.
And he said, how are you? And she says, good. How are you today? And he says, where are you from? Are you from? And she says, no, but my brother is. She says, are you? That was it. I just really felt like I was going to have an emotional breakdown because I knew that we weren't going to get through the house. I needed him to see it. I really want to get out of there. It was just, who knows, who who lives where. It sounds awful, like kind of cruel. That's how you feel. You feel like I'm being cruel. But I have no patience for it.
Right.
I start to get crazy. Like crazy.
Like you're trying to control the whole situation. And that's where highly sensitive people also get a bad rap. You are trying to control it for your own benefit.
Exactly.
And for everybody else's too, because once you're affected, it's a domino. But, you know, it's funny that you said that someone said, are you on the spectrum? Because it is, there's differing opinions, whether it's considered a form of neurodivergence. When I read the definition, being a highly sensitive person, I said, absolutely, it is. It is because our brains process things differently. And I just thought it was me, or I thought, oh, some people, but to neurotypical people, they love small talk.
Yeah.
It's very calming. I read that neurotypical people find it calming and relaxing, and I can't even comprehend that.
Yeah.
how that's possible, but they would have trouble participating in a long, engaging conversation too.
Yes, exactly.
The whole day might consist of one small talk after another, and
Yep.
that to me would just be
Yep.
torture, really, not to be too overly dramatic.
No, but it's true. I mean, look, I'm guilty. I'm really guilty. I'll step out my back door and I'll look to see. I actually genuinely care very much about my neighbor, but he won't stop talking. So when I get out, I scan and I see if I see his head above the. Remember the sitcom where the head was above the fence? I see if his head's above the fence, and if I see his head, I just kind of scrunch my body, and I go low, and I stay right behind next to that shrub, and I go lower, and I get in my car, and I think, would it kill you, Doreen, to say hi? But it wouldn't kill me, but it would kill me to do all the other stuff after hi.
And I think when it comes to small talk, there's only a certain amount of subjects that come up. And then if, the weather or the news.
Or all about them.
Yes. Or it's sometimes I'll say, is this a conversation or a performance? Because you started the conversation with me, but now you're having it with yourself. So somebody will say,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I didn't answer, and on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And so I find, and I hate to reveal this because now if anybody sees this, they'll know some of my coping mechanisms. It's like,
Is that what you do?
like I literally shut down. That my mouth doesn't even open. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not engaging in this. And it's sometimes you want to.
Yeah.
It's someone you haven't seen, but a lot of times the small talk will inevitably take a negative turn.
Yeah.
And I try to protect my energy from that. Or it'll take a gossip turn.
Yeah.
And I wasn't always like that. I guess I used to be better at it, but I'm very protective of my energy in small talk.
Well, I think when you're younger,
Opens it up.
if it bothers you, you can kind of scooch out. You don't care what people think of you. And as an adult, you really don't want to look like you're disrespecting somebody. So you just hang in there.
Right.
You just hang in. But I think it's when you're talking to someone and they tell you about, and this Catherine did this, and who the hell is Catherine?
Right.
And they talk about other people and other things that they're doing, and people you've never met.
Right.
And that's when I know it's on the other side of the hill, and there's no coming back. So I have to now say, shoot, my daughter's calling in. I have to do a major interruption.
Or how about if somebody explains something that they're doing, like at their home? So I have this peak on my roof. Can you picture that? Not only are they like talking, but they want you to engage in it. And then there's this and that. You know what? Let me make you a picture.
Oh my God.
Right?
I almost
Where's
can't stand talking
pen?
about this.
Right.
That we're talking about this.
And you
Yes.
know what makes it bearable? That there's a timer. And that's with small talk too. I wish there, so I know going into something, I'm only going to be here for a half hour. That's only going to enable this many conversations that I might not want to be involved in. But if you're going to something for a day,
Yeah.
just the idea of it.
And it's so interesting because I met you when when we met almost a year ago, maybe
I think
about
so,
a year ago.
Yeah.
And then we have this group together. I have a hosted group in my studio in Norwell once a month, and when we get together, and I've raised a subject, and I've said to the highly sensitive people that are in the group, and some people aren't highly sensitive, but they really love the camaraderie because we have a lot of fun. They don't raise their hands, but all the highly sensitive people, every one of them raised their hand and said they can't stand small talk. They can't put up with small talk. So you think, what is that? It's because we think and feel so deeply that if something is trivia, it really doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really care about it. We care about the person. It's not that. We just don't want to talk about nothing.
Right. I forget the other word when I was like looking at this, which, reading about it, why people are the way they are about it, and tedious. And
That word came up, yeah.
Yeah, and what was the other one? Energy. It takes up your social energy.
Energy vampires are famous for it.
You only have enough social energy some people have an endless amount. For me, I only have so much.
Yes.
Even within my own home, my own family, and my people I'm close to.
Such a good point. So when I'm coaching people, I tell them to not feel bad about this. Picture themselves as literally as a battery. What is recharging you and what is draining you? And that's hour by hour. It's not even like what you have in a day, because you can get zapped by 10 in the morning, and then there's nothing left. And what do? As a highly sensitive person, you only come to the table in the morning with so much energy.
Right.
And I think that's why people really get sick as highly sensitive people, because they don't set boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And so people come into their lives or come into their day or events they can't say no to because they're so kind.
Yeah.
And then their energy is shot. And I can't tell you how many people come in with, major stomach issues. A woman told me yesterday that she has to do, what's that drink? Is it not Malox? It's
Miralax.
Miralax twice a day. She's been doing it for 8 years. And she is a wreck because she's a highly sensitive and she just can't say no to her needy mother, her needy daughter, and her needy husband. She can't say no. So she's depleted all day long. So I'm trying to help her learn how to every hour look at, do I really need to do that? Do I really need to go there?
Right.
So you're so right about the social energy. So how do you handle when you know you're going to be going to, when you know, like I could tell quickly my story, but I won't right now, maybe in a few minutes. I want to see what your story is when you had to go to a major event and you really knew, you kind of knew it was going to zap you, but you wanted to go. You wanted to go. Is there something you can recall?
Yeah, first, I think a lot of times I don't go.
Yeah. Which is typical.
And then if I do, and it's some people I know and some people I don't, I'll gravitate towards the people I already know.
Yes.
Or the people whose energy I already know, because some people's energy will introduce themselves before them, like, oh, I know this person from somebody else, so I'll try to gravitate, or sometimes I'll just stick close to the person I came with and just, always have an escape plan. Okay, we're going to be okay through dinner, but during this or that, we might want to have a reason to leave. And it just, it sounds harsh, but it's really not. It's protecting yourself.
It is protecting yourself. People say, well, Doreen, you must have a social phobia. And I says, no, because I'm doing a podcast. I love to go out and do library talks about my book. I love to share information. But no, I don't want to go have tea time sitting around a table with the same people at the same time of day talking about, unless we have like a topic. Like I want to do something meaningful.
Yes.
I cannot sit around and do that.
So having this scheduled has made me look at the whole thing in a different way. First of all, I never would have guessed that there was anybody that actually enjoyed small talk. And now I know that is true. Some people do. And that when you are going to go someplace where there's going to be inevitably small talk, that you can actually think about before a list of topics to try to steer the conversation in a direction that you're comfortable.
So work with me on this. So I wonder if you do this too. When I have to go somewhere and I really don't know, like lunch with family that I haven't seen in a while, and we purposely don't get together much because we don't have a lot in common.
Yeah.
I will put an agenda in my head, not to control the conversation because it sounds so negative,
right?
But to think, what can we talk about that's going to be positive
and
meaningful, rather than just, we'll just kind of just go with the flow. Do you do the same thing?
Yeah, I try to. I do try to. And I don't like looking at it either as controlling, but steering.
Yeah.
Keeping things on track, on a certain track, because other people that aren't as sensitive don't realize either that the content of their discussions lowers your vibration. So, I had a tea with family and, people of varying ages. And I just said, let's make it a high vibe tea. Let's keep the talk positive. And sometimes I really like meeting like acquaintances. Because, some small talk, it turns out to be very meaningful and you didn't expect it. You have something in common with this person. So I try to go in with an open mind, because you can totally meet a new friend, meet somebody very valuable to you by learning. And it's a skill you have to learn, which I read that too. Who would think that small talk is actually, it's very socially necessary.
Yeah, I have to share with you something I found really kind of life-changing for me. Because I'm the way I am and I don't like small talk at all. Every meeting that I held in my corporate America world, I was always in the head, like operations, VP, whatever, which was great because then I got to always keep the agenda going, right? I liked those roles where there wasn't a lot of talk. I could just get to it. Let's get to it, right, guys? Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the building code. Let's get it. But when that ended and I was stuck there because it was snowing and we were just waiting for the plows to clear the drive, but there was a reason I was stuck there for 10 or 20 or 30 minutes after. And I thought, oh, geez. That was the time when we talked about commonalities. We got to know each other better. We got to build relationships. It was actually networked. It was really kind of brilliant. The small talk can have its very important purpose. And I think that's why you see politicians, and I won't get into politics, but politicians and people that are very outgoing, they have a big network and they're well liked because people get to know them because they talk about themselves and they're out there making all sorts of talk, meaningful talk and small talk. So it has its place.
It does.
But it's very hard for HSP to do. I mean, I literally had just said to you, I would have to be trapped in order for the small talk to deal with it.
Right.
I'm the first one, always the first one out the door before all that happens. And I've probably lost a lot in the past of relationships and all because I am the first one out the door. Do you find that you look to the door almost before it ends? I mean, how extreme do you feel in social situations?
Yeah, I mean, I guess sometimes I crave it. Like, oh, this is an environment that I really like. So if there is a little small talk, I can try to engage and then see where it ends up. If you're with people that you know that there's that chance. Like, that's why I love the group at your studio. It's such a safe place. There's no small talk. Everybody gets it because most of us are highly sensitive. We get the social cues, the cues
We
that
stop before it turns into that mundane talk.
almost too much.
Yeah.
So that people say, I'm sorry, I talked too much.
Yeah.
I said too much. I'm not going to talk. I want somebody else to have a turn. But to have a space where you feel that way and that the conversations are always meaningful, that there's really no time for small talk.
Right.
Sometimes you're ready to lock the door and we're all still talking about something meaningful, flashing the lights.
Put the lights on if I should do that. So let's talk about something else that's kind of interesting, which is very particular, but maybe it's not for everybody, but background noise. So I do know someone who has highly sensitive tendencies, and he is on the spectrum. And when he visits me, when I leave the room, he'll have taken the battery out of the kitchen clock. He can't even visit me and chat with that, which doesn't bother me because to me that's not an issue.
You're right.
A radio would be. The news would be because I feel like I need to be concentrating on some event because it's meaningful.
Right.
I feel like I have to listen to the radio. I can't have the radio or the TV on during the day. My sister can have it on from morning to night. Yeah. I can't even have it on when I'm talking to her on the phone when she's listening to it in the background. How are you with noise sensitivity?
I'm very particular. So I can have background noise, but it has to be. I have my go-tos, which are listening to frequencies. Okay. I know we've talked about that before.
Nonverbal.
Flutes.
Nonverbal.
Things like that. I can have that. I can have HGTV on, usually, if it's something kind of. Yeah. And the Food Network. So I could listen to not Chopped or not, not anything that's exciting, but things that are very calm,
Yeah.
The Pioneer Woman, just the Barefoot Contessa, things that are calming. Yeah. But, the channel changes to, if my husband's watching TV, I could be 2 rooms away. And if the World Polka Tour is on for 2 seconds, I can't. Sometimes I wish, someday I'm going to tell him, I'm going to go through without a filter all day, and you're going to see the things that
really
try to dodge, because I'd be like, World Polka Tour, can't hear 2 seconds of it.
Well, I have to share with you, I have this beautiful older woman that I coach, and she's very kind. She's as HSP as you can get. She is so very deeply empathetic, can feel the energy from her kids when they come over, almost can set no boundaries because she loves them. She doesn't want to hurt their feelings. Her husband retired last year, and he's at home all day. And she loves him. She loves him, and he's a good man. He's a good man. He loves sports. And she was home a year before him, and she kind of was starting to paint. And she was in a quiet place, when she was loving it. He's home now. If he doesn't have the TV on, he has his phone on the video loud during breakfast, right? So Valentine's Day was coming, and I end up loving the people I work with. So, and of course, I just love her. And I said, "What are you going to do? What are you going to give him for things?" I was guiding her. I said, "What are you going to do for Valentine's Day?" And she said, "I don't know, chocolates, I guess." I said, "What do you think about headphones?"
Right. I was thinking you're going to say earbuds.
Earbuds, right?
Right.
Because he's old school, and anybody could do either one. He's old school. And she lit up like a pinball machine, Could I? She's asking me permission. Could I? I go, "You can do whatever you want to do, because guess what? It's your home too."
Right.
And he wants you happy. She goes, "He does." I said, "So what do you think? Put a red bow on it, put chocolates on top, however you're going to make this thing sweet." She said, "Maybe I will." So unfortunately, she got sick after I haven't seen her after Valentine's Day, but I'll see her this week. And I'm like dying to know if she did it.
Yeah.
If she put it in front of him, if she actually gave it to him, and what he did with it. And if he's using them. And she's suffering, and I'll tell you something. She has such, and of course I don't mention her name, she has such physical problems, so deeply it's even in her esophagus. She's so closed from years of she goes, "I just swallow it." She uses the words, "I swallow it." She uses the word, and she has, and she's ill. She's dealt with breast cancer and stomach issues and serious esophagus issues, and she's hurting.
Yeah.
Because she won't speak up. So how do you, as an HSP, speak up and be as kind as you are and speak up in such a way where you don't look like a nut?
Right. Well, I'm so lucky, I do have to say, and I know this, that I'm so lucky that my husband understands it.
He does.
Finally, not always, didn't always. And he's sensitive in his own ways too. So sometimes when, we do have our own TV watching spaces, but I'll be in his or whatever. Too loud, too quiet, too cold, too hot.
Oh, really?
And I'm not really, I wouldn't consider myself high maintenance, but no, I don't want the fan going when I'm watching TV. And no, I don't want to watch a TV show where there's a panel of 3 people all talking about, especially Sunday morning, because they're all on those the news shows. So too bright, too dark, ask me, take my temperature. But for me, my face gives it away. So he's learned that over the years. He could tell just by
you are lucky.
the look.
You are lucky. But think about the work environment, right? Your work environment, do they want to, your husband wants to get you because, you have to live together, cohabitate, but people that you work with, family that hasn't seen you in a while, they definitely give you the hairy eyeball and think, "Oh, she's this. Oh, it's not hoity-toity. It's painful."
Right.
So highly sensitive people, 15 to 20% of the population. And this is a highly sensitive show about highly sensitive people, but these are real traits that for some people, it's until they gain clarity, this is who they are, it's really interesting, they just struggle. But as soon as you get clarity around going to a restaurant, I'll call first. I called Sunday, my husband said, "Let's go to lunch." I said, "That'd be great. I didn't want to make the lunch." And he said, "How about Tinker's Son?" And he loves their buffalo chicken wraps, and they're very good. They're freshly made, great. And I says, "But do you mind if I'm just going to call first?" And he says, "Yeah." He said to me, "Do you think because it's really busy?" Because it was 12:30. And I says, "I don't care how busy it is. I want to see if they have that Irish music." And I called, and she goes, hold on, what?" And I could hear him. I just said, "I have to go now." And that was it. I didn't go.
Yeah.
But people are actually sitting in the restaurant next to the people playing those Irish instruments, singing loud, and they're sitting there and they're having lunch. I have no idea how they do that. I think that to me would be torture, torturing me. You want to torture me? Put me there, and that I'll tell you, I'll spill my guts. That would be like a real torture,
Right. It's definitely, I'd joking and thinking about it, I'd like to spend one day just doing everything that made me comfortable all day long. Just one day.
Don't you try to, though? I mean, don't you try to keep looking at how and when?
And I'm always looking at myself too. How am I reacting to this? Is this normal? Is this, but it would start with little things like, oh, you know what, I can go into that CVS, but I'm going to have to put my sunglasses on because the light in there bothers me. If I explain, I can sit out here with you, but we need to turn the subtitles on and turn the volume off and shut the fan off and close the window. So there's a lot of things that you don't realize that you tolerate, and you do a pretty good job during the day.
But you even saying that, and we talk about, being on the spectrum and all that, it can be extreme. It can feel extreme for us and for others that don't understand. I know I knew this would fly because it's so much fun to talk about. I know, so much fun, but I want to just say one thing and see what you think about this too, is I was reading something the other day that for women, we have 15 thoughts to every one comment or, from one comment or one question, we have like 15 thoughts. And again, this is something I read, this is not bashing men. Men will have like a half a thought, and they may not even say what they're thinking. Like it's just very, very different.
Yeah.
But you talk about HSPs. Talk about the overthinking and questioning. Was I rude? Did I say that too quickly? Or when the cashier said, "Enjoy your meal," I said, "You too." Why are we always so kind? She's not eating her meal. She's just telling me to enjoy my meal, but I say, "You too."
Right.
We have this overthinking, thinking about the day, overanalyze, what could we have done differently?
Right.
This is a real challenge for HSPs.
It is.
How
overthinking? About overthanking? You say thank you to somebody 15,000 times. And then you go, did I really need to say it that last time? Or sorry?
Sorry, thank you.
I'm very aware of that, of not, why would I say I'm sorry for that? Like, if somebody gets in your way in the supermarket and you apologize for, sorry, I almost ran you down with my carriage. So it is. It's just, I don't even know if it's over. It's just.
That in itself is like a study, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. And then I was reading too that HSPs get miscategorized as other things too. Like empath. I used to think I was an empath. I think I have some empathic traits, but it's mostly HSP. They get misclassified as narcissists because it's like their way or the highway.
Oh.
And not, but it's like what we said about control.
That's misunderstood.
It is.
But you're right. I can see people thinking it because you're controlling and it's about you, but it's really more
about.
And
the spectrum. It absolutely is. Because like you said, the spectrum is this wide.
It is. It's very, very wide.
It definitely is. It's a different, your brain processes things differently, and it's not a negative.
Well, we have more dopamine in our brains, so we need less stimulation.
Right.
We just need less. We just don't need it all. That's why we love to relax in nature. When someone's late for an appointment, I don't want my clients to know this, but I'm a little happy, especially if I have time on the other end, because that means I get 10 more minutes of quiet.
Right. There's nothing wrong with silence.
It's a bonus.
That's another thing that HSPs, if we don't have anything to talk about, we never feel the need to. You don't have to try to fill it in.
No.
I'm fine with just sitting here in the car with nothing to talk about for a few minutes. For a few minutes, nothing unfriendly, but silence is okay. It beats the alternative.
Oh my gosh.
Did you see the news? Do you believe that on the news? How awful was that story? People use words like awful or terrible.
I know, it's going to be.
I can actually feel myself just going like this saying them.
I know. So, where's the sun? It's not going to rain again. It's a little too cold for me.
It's never going to be summer.
It's all negative. Small talk is usually, unless it's usually, it just pulls vibrational down. So
words are powerful.
Oh my gosh.
Use them.
It's so interesting.
Carefully.
Yeah.
Or don't.
And don't talk too much, please. People don't have knobs, but I wish it did because I could just shut it up.
Or when you have to tell someone that they're too loud.
Oh my God, a guy came in our backyard a couple years ago we were thinking of putting a pool in. Huge guy, big, deep voice. Came in the backyard and he was so loud. And I didn't want all the neighbors to know I was thinking about a pool. I just moved in. And I looked up at him. He was this huge guy. And I go, I'm sorry, but could you just lower your voice? You think I took my hand and smacked him across the face. He just looked at me like I said, I'm sorry, it's just, and I blame myself. I have a hearing problem with my ears.
Right.
And my husband said, I cannot believe you told that guy to do. I go, but wasn't he loud? He goes, he was really loud.
Right.
But you had the guts to tell him. I wasn't going to tell him. I go, because this big guy. Yeah.
I have the opposite of a hearing. I hear extra good. So could you be quiet?
Oh my God, Stacey, thank you so much for coming on. This made my day. It doesn't make me feel so I don't know. Different.
Unique.
Unique. So, fellow sensitive warriors, if you ever needed 24 hours to recover from brunch, been personally victimized by background noise, or spent way too much time analyzing a text reply, just know you're not alone. We are a special breed, and while the world may feel like it's a lot, we're built for depth, creativity, and let's be real, cozy solitude. Think of a battery, the low warning sound to represent HSP's energy, and make sure you share it. Tell the people that you love how you're feeling, and then move on. Least said, quick as mended. Tell them how you feel, and don't make a big deal of it. If you found this interesting and you want to learn more, please reach out to me, Doreen at yourhspcoach.com. If you want to hear more of these humorous podcasts, I will grab Stacey and have her come back and let's do this again. It was so much fun having you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Until next time, remember, your sensitivity is your superpower. Take care.